Good day, everyone, and welcome to this amazing webinar put on by New Vision Federal Credit Union and us, Virtuity Financial Partners. I wanted to say welcome, first of all, wherever you're visiting from today, whether it's online or in classroom or in person or wherever you are. It's a pleasure and honor having you. You're going to get lots of detail today. This is a financial literacy series, and my name is Lester Barron. I actually come from the UC system. I won't mention the school's name, but I've been privileged to go to school, go to college, walk the path that you've walked. I can relate to where you are, and now come out the other side and become a successful business person. You will not be hearing from me primarily today, but from my wife, and I'm here to introduce her. I call her my better three quarters. And my wife has been in the financial industry now for nearly a decade. We've worked together. We've helped many, many families on this journey that you're embarking on. But Kirsten came from a social work background. She actually has a degree in social work, but her path led her to this field. I will probably have her share the story with you. And now I'm so grateful that we've been able to spend time together over the many years to help others understand this journey called financial literacy. So if you're joining us today, welcome. You're going to get some details. We're going to have some fun. You'll have some time to reflect. I'm happy that we're together. We're going to move a little fast, so keep up with us. And I value your commitment to this topic and to this message. So with that said, Kirsten, would you please come on? She's a force to be reckoned with as a speaker. She's a very humble individual, but she's very knowledgeable, and her expertise has gained her being one of the most acclaimed financial professionals in the United States. So help me welcome Kirsten Barron.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lester, for the introduction and for the kind words. So welcome to this webinar. So I'm excited to be here and excited to share with you guys some things that I think will be extremely valuable to you and helpful to you. And so I'll first start by just, telling you a little bit more about myself. So I've been working in the financial industry now for about 9 years. I started doing it on a very part-time basis, building the business with my husband, who you just heard from. And then I was eventually able to leave what I was doing as a social worker and come into this industry full time. And so it's been a huge blessing. I absolutely love what I do. And I definitely am very passionate about the topic we're going to be talking about today, which is just having a better understanding of money and different things like that. And specifically budgeting and, the things that we'll talk about today. So I believe we have a lot of people on here, being in college right now. And one of the things that, and you could probably relate to this, that I wish they taught me when I was in high school, when I was in college, is pretty much everything we need to know to adults or to be adulting, if you know what I'm talking about. And so when it comes to the topic of money, when it comes to, investing and all these kinds of things, typically we're not taught it in high school, we're not taught it in college. And I think that that's a huge challenge, because it's something that no matter where we decide to go career wise with our life, whatever you're studying in school, we all have to deal with money, and we all are going to be working jobs where we have to pay bills, and we eventually would like to be in the position to be financially free and be able to stop working someday. And so this is an area that, again, there's such a huge need for, and I know for me personally, is something that I wish someone taught me in schools. Now, for me, I was very fortunate. So my parents are immigrants. They came to the United States from the Caribbean like 30 years ago. And so I was very fortunate to grow up in a household where, thanks to my mom was actually very strict about, teaching me and my siblings the importance of saving money and budgeting and make sure that we were doing the right things with our money. And so that was something that I grew up. So when I was grew up in my household, I had jobs that I was doing. I started, working and earning my own money when I was in high school, doing tutoring and different things like that. Maybe you guys are doing that as well. And I was really good about saving money. My mom helped me open a savings account when I was in high school or junior high, and really, taught me the importance of putting money aside and not just spending everything that I had, to the point where when I was 19, I was able to buy my own car completely by myself, cash. And I was very grateful for that, and very grateful to my parents, specifically my mom, for teaching me those concepts. But now it's kind of going the next step. And so today we're really going to be talking about that. And again, I know you guys are going to get value. I am going to talk pretty fast because I want to make sure that we not only start on time, but we also end on time. But thank you guys for being here. And there will be an opportunity at the end to reflect and be able to absorb the information that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to go ahead and get started with this. Give me 1 second. All right, so you guys should be able to see that. And let me just move this out of the way so I can see it. Okay, so this is, like Lester opened up with, part of a series that we're doing, and this is part 1. So again, the topic is financial literacy, and we're going to be going from there. So go on to the next one. Okay, so that is just disclosure stuff. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is creating a budget. Okay, so maybe some of you guys are, already working, or, depending on kind of what you're doing right now, but it's really important to have a budget. And when it comes to having a budget, it's, sometimes it can have a little bit of a negative connotation, like, well, it doesn't really sound fun to some people, but really a budget, the purpose of having a budget is to actually give you freedom. So a budget is not meant to confine, but instead to create opportunity and to allow you to have more freedom when it comes to the money that you spend. So we're going to go, very basic and very fundamental here. So when it comes to having a budget, again, a budget is pretty much just having a certain amount of money set aside for each category that you have when it comes to your living expenses. So a very tangible tool that I always recommend to my clients is something called the Every Dollar Budgeting app. Okay, so it's a free app that you could download on your phone. Again, it's called Every Dollar, and what it will do, it will actually give you the opportunity to create a budget for yourself. So you put your income, whatever income you have coming in, and then it allows you to budget everything, all your expenses that you have. Now, here's the key thing about creating a budget, which I really like about this app, is that you want to make sure that every single dollar that is coming into your bank account, right, has a destination. Okay, so when you're going through and creating a budget, you want to make sure that everything is budgeted for. So if I'm taking in $4,000 a month, $4,000 is budgeted. If I'm taking in $2,000 is budgeted. Whether it's going to gas, to bills, to savings, right? That's very important, okay? And the reason why is because you want to be able to not only take care of the things that are a priority to you, but also still feel like you have, that you're able to enjoy the money that you're receiving, okay? So something that I'm definitely a big proponent of is having your, what I call, fun money within your budget. And so again, but if you have a set amount that you're going to have set aside for, let's say that, fun money category, that way you're not overspending and just spending money and not really keeping track, and you're still able to take care of the things that are priority, like your savings and different things like that. Now, when it comes to savings is really important, and a very simple tool that I recommend for everyone is really having the right mindset when it comes to saving. Because if we're honest for ourselves, what I typically see when I sit down with families and I help them with the financial plan is saving money for themselves. They may say it's a priority, but then their actions don't show that it's a priority, because when they receive income, the first thing that they focus on is paying their bills. And then if there's anything left over at the end of the month, then they save that. But I want to challenge you to actually have a different perspective. And whenever you receive money, save 10% of it automatically right off the top. And then whatever's left over, you use to take care of your bills. Okay. Because one of the most critical things about building wealth over time is that time can be your greatest asset or your greatest ally, or it could be your worst enemy. Okay, because the more time that you waste not saving means that the more money you're going to have to save later on to get to a place of financial independence, which I'll go over a little bit more. Okay, so I hope that's all making sense for now. But again, step A is making sure that you're creating a budget for yourself, and that you're following that. And a great way to do that is by using the app called the Every Dollar app. Okay, so let's keep going with that. So This is continuing on. So sometimes unexpected expenses can arise, or even something you didn't count on. When you have a budget, it becomes less of a panic and more of a simple adjustment. Okay. This is also why it's really important to make sure that we are saving and doing things like that, is because if you have that habit of putting aside money and making sure that you're budgeting everything, if we all have unexpected expenses that come up, but when you're following a budget, it's a lot easier to be able to take care of that, because again, you were budgeting for it. And so another thing that you might have within your budget is a category for miscellaneous. Okay. And so whatever dollar amount that you want to leave for that, that could take care of certain things. But it goes back to what I was saying before about saving, is making sure that you're putting aside that 10% and having an emergency fund. Okay. So having an emergency fund is designed to take care of unexpected expenses that come up. Okay. And that way you don't have to put it on a credit card, but you could actually just pull from your emergency fund. Okay. So I hope all of that is making sense. And then let's keep going with this. Okay. So step B now is paying down debt, right? So when it comes to debt, you must gain control over your money, or the lack of it will forever control you. Okay, I'll say that again. You must gain control over your money, or the lack of money will forever control you. Okay, one of the things that I really love talking about is, what is your mindset when it comes to money? Okay, because oftentimes our mindset is going to actually manifest itself and reflect what actions we take when it comes to money. So if your mindset about money is that it's really difficult to get, that it's it's really hard, and it's really hard to save money, if those are the thoughts that are dominating your mindset when it comes to money, it's going to be very hard for you to save money. However, versus having a mindset of, I just got to take control of it. I just got to make it a priority. It's not difficult to save money. I just have to, again, make it a priority. It's a very different mindset than someone who constantly says it's hard to save, it's hard to do these things, right? So here's some interesting statistics. But when it comes to debt specifically, so average debt per American household is $27,000 in car loans, okay? $6,800 in credit cards, $189,000 in mortgages, $46,000 in student loans, and then another $10,000 in personal loans, right? And then on the graph on the right, it actually shows you per age group. So people under age 35, the average debt that they have is $67,000. And I would venture to say that a lot of that is probably student loans. And then the older you get, and then between kind of 35 and 64 is where it's the highest. And then it starts going down from there. Okay. So another thing that I wish I learned when I was in school is understanding debt. And understanding, how to be able to pay it off, but make sure that I'm not going into debt and I'm able to stay out of debt. Now, if you're in school right now, probably, again, probably the biggest thing that you have right now is your student loans. One thing that I would say to look into, and maybe some of you guys already have this, is there are some programs out there where you could have student loan forgiveness. I know for me, because I was working for Los Angeles County as a social worker, there were some opportunities for that where they could forgive a certain amount of my student loans depending on how long I work. So depending on what profession or what field you're studying, you may have some of those opportunities. But when it comes to paying down debt, part of it is making a plan. So a very simple tactic in doing that is something called the snowball effect. Okay, so when you pay off one credit card or debt, you stack your payment on to the next one, okay? So what I usually recommend to the people that I sit with is, if you want to pay off your debt, and let's say that you have a few different, things that you're paying off, I recommend to start with the smallest balance and then work your way up to the biggest one, okay? So how that would work is you would start with the smallest balance, focus on paying that one off first, while you're paying the minimums on everything else. And then since it's the smallest balance that you have, you could pay it off pretty quickly, especially because that's one that you're focused on paying off. And then once that's paid off, then you move on to the next biggest one, and then so on and so forth, until you're left with the biggest one that you have, and then it's a matter of just paying that off, okay? What I see a lot of people do is they try to pay off everything at once. So they're paying more than the minimum on all of their debt balances. But what happens is that you're not able to save, right, while you're trying to pay off the debt, and then you're not able to really make a lot of progress. And so something that I think is extremely important, and the reason why I believe it's extremely important, because I've seen it work for me personally, is when I was paying off my debt, I was also saving, okay? So again, by following the snowball effect, it will allow you to actually make progress faster in paying down your debt, but then it will also still allow you to save money. So I'm a big proponent of, even as you're paying off your debt, you should also be saving, okay? What most people do is they only focus on paying off the debt and they don't save, but then if something comes up like an emergency or something like that, they don't have any savings, and then they have to go back into debt. And it's this ongoing cycle that can happen. So remember, saving money and these little things that I'm talking about, they're all habits, right? Just like if you want to get in shape, okay? You could go, if you've never worked out in your life, and then let's say you go work out for a week straight and you work out 5 hours a day and then you stop, like that's probably not going to work. But as opposed to maybe saying, okay, 3 days a week, I'm going to go on an hour walk and I'm going to do that for the next 6 months, right? It's that habit and that consistency is what's going to really get you to your goal, okay? And those same concepts apply when it comes to money and finances, okay? So short-term savings goals. So I already kind of started talking about this. So the first thing we talked about was creating a budget. Second thing we talked about was a game plan to pay off debt. Now, the third thing we're going to be covering is kind of like, well, where should I be saving my money? Or should I just be saving my money in, one account, or what should that look like? Okay. So the way that I talk to my clients is we always want to break it up into short-term, midterm, and long-term, okay? So short-term, so when you're saving money, right, you want to make sure to diversify your savings. This is why it's important to work with someone like a financial coach, okay? So you have your short-term savings, you have your midterm savings, and then you have your long-term savings. So the common things that would probably fall into your short-term savings, number one, like I mentioned before, is your emergency fund, right? So having money set aside specifically going into your emergency fund, I recommend to have at least 3 months of your monthly income as an emergency fund, okay? So depending on, if you're working full-time right now or not, or when you do start working full-time, that would be the first goal that I would recommend. If you don't have that, is build your emergency fund. So if you're working a job and you're getting paid $3,000 a month, then your ideal emergency fund to start should have about $9,000 in it, right? So in that way, if something happens, you lose your job or, something like that, you can still take care of your expenses at least for 3 months, right? And again, any other emergencies that come up. Some other things that are more short-term goals is maybe a home purchase fund. Maybe your goal is to be able to buy your house in the next, 1 to 3 years. And so that would be something short-term. A travel fund or a shopping fund. Maybe there's something that you want to be able to purchase, so you want to put money aside to be able to purchase that. So those are some examples of short-term savings. Now, for the midterm savings, that would be like maybe buying your dream home, right? So maybe short-term, you want to buy a house, but maybe in the future, as you start working more, or you get promoted at your job and your income starts to increase, or you have a business or something like that, maybe you eventually want to be able to upgrade and buy your dream home. So that would be more of a midterm goal. Maybe it's college funding for your own children, right? When you start a family and now you're preparing for your kids' futures. Maybe it's having a vacation home fund, or you want to start your own business, okay? And then what's typically long-term is, of course, a retirement fund, a legacy fund, which pretty much just means creating legacy for your children and kind of leaving money behind, and then a fund, okay? So essentially being financially free and being able to enjoy, you know, all the money that you've built through your life. Now, here's a tip on a retirement fund. Some of you guys are probably, you know, very young, and, you know, you're like, why do I need to think about retirement? Well, I'm going to tell you from personal experience, and just from different situations that I've seen, is that you are never too young to start thinking about your retirement. And I'm going to explain to you why. One of the most important steps that you can take towards financial independence is to pay yourself first. So again, the concept of making sure that saving money is a priority, be you know, above pretty much anything else, because the way that we want to think about saving money is just that, paying yourself first. So I want to pay myself first before I give my money to Edison, or you know, or to, you know, all the other stuff that we buy, because you got to remember that the person who you are today, you're working for two versions of yourself. You're working for, again, the person who you are today, but you're also working for the person who you're going to be 10, 20 years from now, right? You're working for two people, and you want your future self, the person who you are 10, 20 years from now, not looking back and saying, man, I regret doing that. Man, why didn't I start sooner? Man, right? And I'm telling you, I see it all the time, okay? All the time. And so everybody has regular expenses and bills, and often savings comes last. That's what I was talking about. So if there's any money left over, which there too often isn't, that's what typically happens. Make a commitment to regularly save a specified percentage of your income or a specific dollar amount and set it aside first. Then keep the commitment. So going back to what I mentioned about retirement, this is what happens. So sometimes when we're young, we're in our 20s, this is the mindset that most people have. Well, I'm just getting started. I'm young. I have a lot of time. I'll start saving when I'm making more money, right? Then you put it off. Well, let me tell you what happens as we get older. Time seems to just go by even faster. The older you get, time goes by faster and faster and faster. And before you know it, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s. Now, guess what typically happens when you're around that age? Your expenses, what? Do they go up or do they go down? They go up. You probably have a house now. Maybe you're married now. Maybe you have kids now, right? So what typically happens is that as our income increases, so does what? Our lifestyle. And so what then I see with people in this age group is they say, well, I've got house payments, I got car payments, I got kids. I don't feel like I haven't have anything left over to save. Then what happens? It gets pushed off again. Then before you know it, you're 50. Okay, you're probably like, that's so far away. Let me tell you, it goes by faster. I'm not 50, but it goes by really fast. As soon as the kids are out of school, we'll be able to save for retirement. But what happens? It's way too late. Okay, it's way too late. So the best time or the best age to start saving for your retirement, for your future, is now. And the reality is that if you don't start in your 20s, you're probably going to be behind. That's literally what it takes. I wish someone told me that. I wish when I was in school, when I was in college, someone told me, hey, if you want to get to a place where you can retire at the age that you want to, because I'm guessing you probably don't want to have to work well into your 60s. I know I didn't. when I was in my early 20s, I said, well, I mean, I don't want to have to work, you know, into my 60s. I want to my retirement age was like 50, 55. But I wish someone coached me that, look, if that is your reality, this is what you're going to have to do now, right? You have to put in a plan. It's like deciding to drive to New York with no GPS. I'm just going to get on the freeway and I'm going to drive and hope that I eventually get to New York. That's not going to work, right? It's the same thing when it comes to our money. If you have a destination that you want to be at, whether it's to be financially independent by the time you're 40, 50, 60, whatever it is for you, it's not going to happen by accident. You got to know exactly what it's going to take to get there and exactly what you got to implement now to ensure that you're on the right track. Okay. So continuing on that, one of the things that, how can you hit a target if you don't even know where the target is? So that's what I was just explaining. Okay. So here's a really great formula, right? Again, this is something that, I wish we got, I'm going to keep saying this, right? I wish so we got taught, but you know, we don't. And it's how do I actually identify my financial independence number? Because one of the things that, again, like I opened up with that I was very grateful for is that I came from a household where my parents were, you know, specifically my mom was very good about teaching me the importance of saving. But again, it's that next step. Well, how much do I need to save? If my goal is to be financially independent by the time I'm 50, like what exactly do I have to do in order to get there? Again, what is the actual plan? So the way we identify that is by calculating what's called your financial independence number. So your financial independence number is the total amount of money that you need. So then when you decide to stop working, you have enough money where you could literally just live off of the interest for the rest of your life, okay? So first you got it. So in order to calculate this number, first you got to decide how much money you want in retirement. So for the purpose of this example, we're going to say $5,000 a month, okay? So for you, write down right now, this is an interactive exercise right now. So write down how much monthly income you want coming in after you decide to stop working. Okay, so for the purpose of this example, I'm going to use $5,000, but it could be anything for you. Some of you guys are like, well, I want 10,000. Maybe you're like, I want 20,000, whatever it is. Okay, so write down your number. Now, the second thing you got to do is you now got to multiply that number by 12 to get your annual income. Okay, so if I want $5,000 coming in a month, when I stop working, I times 5,000 by 12, which is 60,000, right? So that means I want $60,000 coming in a year after I stop working. Then the third step is you divide that annual number by 0.06, okay? So you take your monthly amount times 12 to get the annual amount, and then divide that number by 0.06. After you divide it by 0.06, whatever number that is your financial independence number. So for my example, that's $1 million. So what it means in English is that when I get to $1 million, I can pull 6%, right? So if I have my money invested in an account that's going to give me 6% interest rate every year, that's where that 0.06 comes from. So that 6% is $60,000 a year from that $1 million. And that will last me the rest of my life. Does that make sense? Okay, I can't see you guys, so hopefully it makes sense. And so whatever number that is your target, okay? That's what you want to get to, right? And so then the next part is, okay, well, where do I put my money to make sure I get there? But that's for something different, right? So now that you know your target, what will it take to hit it, right? So there's a really cool website. It's called investor.gov right there that you see on the screen for a savings calculator to find out exactly how much you should save to reach your financial independence number, okay? So that calculator will tell you the monthly amount you got to put away in order to get to that number, okay? So in this example, if I contribute $306.61 every month over the next 30 years towards my goal, I will have $1 million in savings, okay? And this is based off of the money earning an average of 10% a year, okay? And so that's what it is. Now, of course, it depends on the age that you are, right? And that's why I was going back to the point that I was making, because the older you are, the more you have to save. That's why it's so important to get started now. And again, if you're not able to put aside 10% because you're just not making enough money right now, that's okay. But just like how I was talking about before, putting away money and saving money is a habit, okay? And so no matter what it is that you can do, I don't care if it's 20 bucks now or whatever it is, if you build that consistent habit of paying yourself first before anybody else, you're going to be better off as opposed to not putting aside anything at all. Okay. All right. So that is the end of that part one. So I hope you guys got a lot of value for that. I know that, I went through kind of quickly, but those are the main concepts that we wanted to talk about for now. So that being said, I'm going to pass it back over to Lester, and yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Outstanding. Kirsten, thank you so much for going over these financial literacy principles. Creating a budget was step one. Paying down debt was step two. Short-term, mid-term, long-term savings was step three. Committing to savings was step four. And knowing your financial independence number or your FIN number was step five. I'm so grateful that we had the time to spend together today, but I want to share something with you that is pretty unique. And it's one of the reasons why we love doing this together with New Vision. There will be an opportunity for a scholarship, a chance for you to win a scholarship. And the information for that will be on the New Vision website within a week or so. So do me a favor, please check their website over the next few days and week to come. And we look forward to seeing how we can service you and serve you in any way. The next class will be part two, and that will be not too long from now, very short. So next week, please stay tuned. April 20th, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is part two, and that's going to be the second part of the Financial Literacy Masterclass. So stay tuned for that. We hope you had fun today. We hope you got some valuable information. And at this time, I want to make sure that you see, take a look at the chat. We also posted 3 free links for you to have access to. So if you could just go in there really quickly, and those links will be available to you, and you could start utilizing the tools that we spoke about so that by the time the next session rolls around, you are ahead of the curve. Do me a favor, invite more people that you know to the next sessions, because I always tell everyone, the more people that get to understand this material, the more people we can help get financially free pretty soon. I like the hashtag that's all over social media right now. It's hashtag FIRE, right? Financially independent, retire early. So everywhere you go, every time you talk about money, hashtag FIRE, and that will create a buzz around this topic. So we appreciate you. Thank you for New Vision putting this on. And I'm so grateful that we today had a chance to spend some time together so that you could get one step closer to your goals and dreams. Thank you again, Kirsten. Thank you, New Vision staff. And thank you to all our attendees. We will see you next time.